Well, now, we call this the act of mating, but there are several other very important differences between human beings.
Alright, so story begins. Harry and the Dursleys are like hanging out at the house, and he's like, "Oh man, my owl, like, Hedwig really wants to fly." And they're like, "Well, you probably can't do that because you're a wizard and we don't approve of that kind of stuff in our house." And he's like, forgot. And then he's going about and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a wizard and doing all this stuff in the house and it's my birthday, but no one even cares because it's a dinner party tonight." So they're like, "Harry, for your sake, you should probably stay upstairs tonight and not make yourself known." And he's like, I can deal with that. That's okay for me." And then he walks into his room and Dobby is there just like, "Hey." Like that, kind of, is what he's doing. So Dobby is like going on and he's like, "Harry, like, you're pretty awesome, like, I can respect you. So don't go back to school." And he's like, "That's not gonna happen, I don't really like it here." And Dobby's like, "No, trust me, like, seriously, don't fucking go back to school." And Harry's like, "You don't know, fuck you." So then Dobby's like, "I'm gonna cause some mischief so that you can't go back to school." So he uses Hover Charm. Shit goes down. Ministry of Magic sends Harry a letter. They're like, "You know what? We know that you were doing underage magic in your house, and that's not cool, so, you're gonna have to talk to us about it." He's like, "Fuck." So he's totally worried about all this stuff happening. And then he goes up to his room and he, like, looks out the window, and it's Ron Weasley up in his window. Harry's freaking his shit, because he's like, what are you doing out there?" And Ron's like, "Cut your back. Like, don't even worry, we're gonna get you out of here." So they attach some ropes to the window bars with their flying car, although they're driving a flying car. They're like, "Woo!" when they break off the window, and then they're all like, "Okay, let's do this. Let's get out of here." But Hedwig's like, "Ah!" and she makes a noise, and then the Dursleys are like, "Fucking owl!" and they're really mad. So they come into the room, they're like, "Are you trying to escape?" And Harry's like, "Yeah, I am." So then he does. They're flying in the flying car, it's totally cool. And then they make it back to the Burrow, which is Ron's house. And Mrs. Weasley is out there and she's like, "What the fuck were you thinking, you dipshits? Like, why would you fly?" And then she's like, "Hey Harry, what's up? I'm not actually mad at you." And he's like, "Oh, that's great. Thank you for that." And then they're in the house. That's pretty much it. Basically, they go and buy stuff for school. And the Malfoys are douchebags. And that's when Ginny gets the book. But you don't find that out until later in the book. But, haha! I told you. So yeah, that's when it all went down. Shit went down in that chapter, but it was long, so I'm not gonna do the whole thing. That was dramatic. This chapter, they're all going on the train. They have to get to school. So Harry and Ron are like, let's go through the little barrier, you know, platform 9 3/4, let's do this. Like they do every year. And so they're like, booking it towards the wall, and they run into the wall, and everyone's like, "You guys are dumb, like, you ran into the wall, that was your own fault for being stupid." But they're like, "Well, actually, we're wizards, so it's different from the usual situation." So they can't get through, they're like, "Fuck." So then Ron's like, "You know what? Instead of waiting for people to come back out, why don't we just steal the car and fly it there?" And Harry's like, "That's a very good idea. And it's definitely not stupid." So they get in the flying car, and they're like flying over London, and they're like, "Oh shit, actually we're not invisible anymore, so now we have to fly up in the clouds." It's cold, and then it's hot, and then they run out of food and water, and they're like, "I have to pee, like this sucks." Like, looking at the train, and they're like, "Why couldn't we be on the train?" Angst. And then they crash into a tree, and the tree like beats the shit out of him because it's like, the fuck, don't crash into me, I'm a tree, like, and then they get taken up into the school and they're like, that wasn't very smart of you, but we're not going to expel you. And Ginny is in Gryffindor, and that's a really big deal. Pretty much, Gilderoy Lockhart is a dick. Oh fuck, I forgot what happened in this chapter. Hold on, I've got this. Oh, Quidditch, they start doing some Quidditch. Gryffindor goes out to practice in the field, and then Slytherin comes in, and they're like, we're actually gonna practice right now. So please leave. And then Malfoy's there, and he's like, look at our new brooms, like, we're so fancy. And you're like, oh, shut up, like, you're an asshole, is what is happening. And then, shit goes down. Ron starts, like, throwing up slugs. And then you hear about the word mudblood, and it's like, it's offensive, like, don't use that. And then they both get detention, Harry and Ron, because they were causing a scene. Ron has to go polish silver, reward trophies, things, and Harry has to go do detention with Lockhart, so he has to sign all his fan mail. And he's like, this is boring as tits, like, I can't do this. And then he hears, like, voices in the walls, and he's like, oh my god, like, what is that? And he keeps hearing them for the rest of the book. So, Harry, Ron, and Hermione all go to this Death Day party for Sir Nearly Headless Nick for Halloween to celebrate his death day. And it's really awkward because they're not ghosts, so it's kind of like, like, what are you doing here? You can't eat anything because it's all rotted and kind of gross. And then the voices come back, and Harry's like, there are really legitimately voices coming from the walls. So they start following them, they're like, where are these voices coming from? And then they find Mrs. Norris, and she's like kind of dead looking, hanging on the wall. And Phillips comes in, and he's like, what the fuck did you do to my cat? And then they're like, don't worry, it's just petrified. And then they all figure out that the Chamber of Secrets is open, and there's a giant monster, and it's trying to kill all the not purebloods at the school. So people start, like, freaking their shit, obviously. This is like 20 minutes long now, so, basically, they think it's Malfoy for most of the time, so they drink some potion, try to see if it's him, it's not, whoa, like, because I thought it was him, so they're really shocked, they're like, what the fuck? And then people are like, no, it's actually Hagrid. And Hagrid's like, no, really, it wasn't me. But they take him away anyway, take him to Wizarding Prison. He's not happy about that, because he doesn't like it there. Harry has the book that Ginny had, that's actually a diary, and it's talking to him, and it's Tom Riddle, and Harry like doesn't register with him to tell anyone about the book. And then they're talking about having to close the school because people keep getting monstered. It sucks. Ginny gets taken into the Chamber of Secrets. People are like, fuck, we need to close the school now because this is not cool. So she's down there. Harry and Ron, because Hermione's gone, by the way, she's all stunned and stuff. They figure out that Moaning Myrtle was the one who was killed last time the Chamber of Secrets was open, so they go and talk to her, and she's like, dude, I saw these huge-ass eyes, and then I was like, because I was dead. And then they figure out that the Chamber of Secrets opens up in the bathroom. They take Gilderoy Lockhart, because he's the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and he's like, let's go and get this bitch. So they go down. Harry speaks in Snake to a faucet, and it opens up or something. And they're down there. Gilderoy Lockhart's like, I'm going to stun you now, and I'm going to leave. Oh, erase your memory, sorry. And then they're like, well, actually, you probably aren't because Ron's wand is broken. So he ends up getting rid of his own memory. And then there's a big explosion. Shit happens. Harry's on one side of the tunnel, Ron's on the other. So Harry has to go and save Ginny. Harry gets down there and he's like booking it in, he's trying to find her, and then he sees her. Ow. Ow. And he sees her and he's like, I'm gonna rescue you, like, no worries, I think you're almost dead, but it's okay. And then Tom Riddle comes in and he's like, you shouldn't even bother. And he was like, well, I probably should because she's like my friend. And he was like, really, like, don't even, it's not worth it. And then through a little conversation they have, Harry pretty much finds out that Tom Riddle is Lord Voldemort and he's evil, and he opened the Chamber of Secrets last time and he just kind of likes to start shit. So he can't really fight with him because he is a projection of a memory. But he fights with the Basilisk because the Basilisk is in there, and it's been like, that's what's been killing people, is this giant snake. So they fight, and the snake like noms on his shoulder, and he's like, oh, like, like, I'm gonna die. And then a phoenix comes in and it cries on him, and he's a lot better now. So he goes, kills willy-nilly, like, just doing it. Then he stabs the diary with a fang, and the journal's like, then it dies. And they take Ginny back up, and everyone's happy, and the school isn't closed, and Hagrid comes back. And then they take the train back home, and it's like, summer again, and it's really exciting. It was a good book. And that's it. That's the whole book.